changing you from crayons to perfume.
Continuing here, just to finish that thought on, when you treat human beings worse than animals. Animals, I mean, we put animals in a zoo where they get taken care of and live about twice as long as they would out in the wild, fending for themselves. And then we got no-kill animal shelters, right, where the animals are taken care of. But, a domesticated animal, which a human being is certainly, at least, minimum you call them a domesticated animal, are treated less than that. Not even a restroom. I mean, we think nothing about the animals crapping all over the place. That's what they do. But when it comes to a human being, oh my God, how could they? But yet, we don't provide anything for these people. If we just ended extreme poverty, okay, not even ending poverty, okay, just extreme poverty, you'd see all these problems disappear, okay? That's what I'm telling you. It'd be so much cheaper for society. All these people's jobs you're paying for that work in the social welfare industrial complex, that work in the dubious warfare industrial complex, that work in the debt industrial complex, financial services industrial complex, okay, that work in the criminal industrial complex, because all the crime is being committed, the vast majority is being induced, brought on by desperate poverty, extreme poverty. So all those jobs you're paying taxes for or in some other increased prices, you wouldn't be. You understand? If you just ended extreme poverty, and it'd be dramatically cheaper. So, I mean, this is what I see. This is what I mean about put the glasses on, man. Be honest, be real. Understand, this is farthest thing from God's will for our society. Our forefathers would roll over in their graves. And just thank your lucky stars, if you were born in America, you have a right, no, you have a duty, a responsibility to be exactly who you want to be. And to speak out, man. And to let the whole world know. And it's just, you don't have to make enemies. I'm not saying that. But you can be outspoken. And your ways can be pleasing to the Lord, and then He will cause your enemies to even live at peace with you. So with Alex Jones evading death all this time from his enemies, who hate being exposed, we all know it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. He's pouring water on them, and they're melting. And so, I am a big fan of Alex Jones, but I'm also probably his worst critic. I cannot, let him get away with something that I know is detrimental to his welfare, his children's welfare, to the welfare of future generations. And it's an erroneous belief in economic principles and capitalism. He keeps touting capitalism as for all the progress in society. I say, no, the capital existed. God provided the capital. It is the workers, the willing workforce, okay, that if you ended poverty tomorrow, the vast majority can keep working. Okay, and all the innovations that are being stifled out there, they're all going to come out of the woodwork, and so there'd be a lot more innovation too if you just got rid of this money-based unreality. Okay, at least take the relevance away. It's so important. Oh gosh, it's just everything else, takes plays second fiddle. That what supersedes all my concerns is making sure I make enough money to pay my bills for that month. Right? I know it. God knows it. Let's not play stupid. Let's not pretend it's not. So we all know it's imperative to our survival that we please the money masters of misery by making enough money to shove down their throats. But they keep making it harder and harder and harder. And are we supposed to go along with that? Or are we supposed to say, I'm out. I mean, it seems like the sooner you just say, okay, I'll submit myself to, poverty and Cloward and Piven strategy. Okay, I'm out. I'm dependent on the social welfare system now. And I mean, it seems like those are the wise ones. They just say, okay, you want to play that game? Then let's play. Okay, yeah, and I'm going to turn communist on you. I mean, with my beliefs and philosophies, and I'm going to threaten you with my socialist. I believe in the Robin Hood theory: take from the haves and give to the have-nots. And I'm the, I'm the guy that's representing the peeps, at large, right? So they're going to prescribe to that philosophy, and you're the bad guy. You call this capitalism. They're right. They're right. It's not capitalism. And those that profess capitalism and proponents of capitalism they have a duty to explain this hasn't been capitalism. So Alex Jones, man, you've got to do it. That's your job, and your reporters and your guests, to explain what's turned people into communists. This is a plan. This is a scheme from the George Soros types divide and conquer, divisive policies, that you're bad if you don't want to let all the refugees and hard up immigrants in the world into America. You're a bad guy. Yet I'm the guy that's saying, let's bind the wound on the collective body of humanity. Let's set America's shining light example, but we're woefully remiss in doing that by letting our weakest citizens die out in the cold, not criminals, not costing you $50,000 per year per inmate, safely ensconced in jail with 3 hots and a cot and medical and everything else, okay, that you'd be paying for if they get so desperate. They say, no, I have to survive. I've got to commit a crime, okay, because the shelters won't put me up. I got a pet or whatever. There's no room at the inn sort of thing, or I don't like it there. They won't let me have a drink. I mean, there's 1,001 reasons why a homeless person wouldn't want to have anything to do with shelters. So what do? I mean, do we just let the problem get worse, even though we're spending $50 billion a year to solve the problem through this welfare subsidy we call HUD Section 8 housing? Okay, I mean, it's madness. We talk about these things. Talk about fixing the problems permanently, letting God's will being established on earth, being his good and faithful foot soldier and servant. God has protected you, Alex Jones. Obviously, how are you still alive? I mean, that's the only explanation I have. The only thing I would do is stop cussing so much. Stop letting this thing get the better of you. Stop feeling it's beating yourself up, man. You don't deserve that. The GD word, that's the one term I think, look at the vast majority of people. You just don't hear that word spoken much, that term, because most people say that's, like this. Okay, so that maybe I'm superstitious. But if you just stop doing that one thing and say, God help me to stop doing that one thing, just saying that one term, I say things turn around for you, brother. I mean, you got it all. You got the wife and the kids and the bread. You got it all going on, man. You got the beautiful car and you got a great life. You got a lot of supporters, a lot of really high influential people that I mean, you speak to the president himself. I mean, good God. I mean, you got it going on, bro. I'm not jealous. I don't even know I could stand working for you, to be quite frank, but I'll tell you this much, is that I have a great deal of admiration and respect, and I'm not going to take away from any of your grand achievements. You are yes, you're going to go down in history as a very great, well-known human being to a lot of people. I mean, some people they're going to be the haters, and they're going to call on things like the way you were profane and you were condemning sometimes in your speech, and, you weren't reconciling enough to your enemies, and they're going to have a point. I'm sorry, but it ought not be that way, and that's what I'm trying to save you from. It's just telling you don't have. That's beating yourself up. That being a friend to your enemy is what they don't want. And if you really are genuine and sincere, and I believe you are, about really wanting to get their goat, then you have to start finding ways. And if it really seems beyond your strength and your capability, your wherewithal, call on God and he'll give it to you. You ask for a good thing. How can I live together at peace with my enemies, Lord? Just ask him that. How can my ways be pleasing to you to where my enemies stop hating me and I'm stop fearing for my life? You shouldn't have to fear for your life. I don't. I mean, if it happens, it happens, because I know people hate me because I do my share of exposing. And I tell you where, those special interest groups, they don't like it, that they're colluding together and they form a monopoly, and that's no better than if we did have one big fat monopoly running things. And the other special interest group, that the worst one of all that's involved, I didn't mention earlier when I was, spewing out special interest groups that are colluding together on this housing issue, is the government. How is the government colluding and why? They're colluding with taxation, property taxes. Okay, because they make more money. That's the incentive, that's the motivation. It's that simple, and that's fascist. When the government itself, who is our employees, these politicians and all the bureaucrats and whatnot, they're our employees that are working against the best interests of the people at large. That's fascist. That's wrong. That's evil. So I guess that's about enough said on that. And but we've really got to take this problem seriously that we've got. We're in this thing together. How is it in any way okay that the public at large is consistently asked even expected to pay more and more to simply live? It isn't. Can the tables be turned whereby we, the people, consistently ask or even to expect to pay less and less to simply live? I don't think that's radical. I don't think that's acting entitled. That's just merely demanding progress, justice in the land. I strongly contend that colluding special interest groups conspiring to manipulate markets and fix prices are not in any way better than a straight up, in your face, fat ass monopoly. Of course, I touched on that at least once before in this series. If it is true, as King Solomon stated, that loving your enemy is like pouring hot coals over his head, then logically speaking, it stands to reason that hating our enemy is exactly what they want, what benefits them, and what they expect. Yeah, that's something I would tell Alex Jones. Just remember that. When you say you hate them, that's what they want. That's what they expect. That's their comfort zone. You are handing them their comfort zone on a silver platter. And I know, brother, that is not what you want to do. So all I'm saying is don't take my advice, but get on your own knees, man, and God help me to run my life, not part of the time, but all of the time, and control your thoughts, because that's where all this stuff coming out of your mouth is derived from. That's where it starts. It all begins. That's the genesis right there. It's in the thoughts. So God's got to you got to invite him in to control your thinking. So you stop beating yourself up. I know you don't think you're a masochist, but it's kind of like what it is. If the fact that JFK was in the process of eliminating the unconstitutional Federal Reserve, citation, Executive Order 11,110, when he was murdered, yet the Federal Reserve has continued operating and the public at large has tolerated such a blatantly obvious evil, isn't evidence of the zombification of Americans at large. I don't know what is. Yeah, that's the cucking I talked about earlier. Federal Reserve shouldn't have existed for at least 55 years now, I guess, just about, in September. I guess it was September when they killed him. Or what so many people conjecture and speculate is what killed JFK was that, we're not going to this is way too much power. We're not giving this up to any head of the state. We don't care. President of the United States, most powerful country in the world. We're Satanists, man. We've run this roost. Conscience, idiots, non-pragmatic, peons that lack common sense, valuing your conscience, your integrity, your honor, your reputation, your soul. Idiots. That's what they think. That's who's been running the show. We are all cucked to the nth degree. Up one side, down the other. Roundly cucked are the American people for tolerating the existence of the Federal Reserve Bank. Get what you deserve, like, was it Thomas Jefferson said, the degree of tyranny you live under is the degree you tolerate. And I keep telling people over and over and over how you're being tyrannized. Currency debasement through cost of living, tax, inflation. And the cost of living is a tax. Make no mistake, make no bones about it. When we really actualize the fact that the so-called mainstream media have an exceedingly poignant, relevant, even imperative role in society, and that role is to properly inform the public with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to edify the public with veritas, wholly accurate information and cutting-edge education, yet has been utterly and profoundly remiss in so doing, but instead has been roundly corrupted by unsavory individuals, selling the money and the wanton influence thereof to various special interest groups colluding together to manipulate and subdue the general public, which is, of course, again, the worst kind of monopoly. But that's the kind of stuff the mainstream media is selling us, that this is all okay and we should all just get comfortable with it, get used to it, put the blinders on, allow the Overton window, look that term up, to be just always moved, and we get used to it little by little. We, like a frog in the pot of water, you boil it slow enough, it doesn't hop out. But here we are. We're in so much trouble. We're in such dire straits. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Just because Trump is president, believe me, these satanic forces have not given up the ghost yet, okay? And they're going to fight tooth and nail to prevent anything from working and problems getting